welcome to my channel. Well, I received a box like this the other day, and when I picked it up, the first thing I thought before I even looked at the address or anything, it was heavy and reminded me of the lock sport community when we used to trade locks back and forth. Our packages were always heavy, you know, because locks are heavy. Well, it turns out it was from somebody that was basically, you know who it is if you watch my channels here or watch any knife channel, Jolly Peanut. And he's the reason why I have this channel right now, is because when I was in lock sport and stuff and going through all that, I was watching his channel also, and he had a channel with guns and stuff like that, and he was talking about how YouTube was demonetizing them and taking them away at that time. And I thought, I started talking to him about, I was thinking about doing another channel, and he said, it was basically, he encouraged me, you know, to do my other channel, to start this one. And that's why this happened. Well, out of the blue, he just sends this package, and he says, you don't have to, you know, you don't have to do a video on it or anything, and anything you get in here, you can keep or use in giveaways or whatever. It's up to you, you know, like, cool. Well, right away, one of the things that came out of the box when I pulled out was this sticker, which is cool. Okay, there's two of them. One's with a red. I mean, he gave me a bunch of stickers. I'm not going to go through everything in there, but I just wanted to show you a couple of things for right now. And this one, the only one kid is getting stabbed. And this one, too, well, threatened to be stabbed by Mr. Electricity. He's got his hand on already, though, and past the ground. Come on, man. If he grabs you, you've already been zapped, so. I thought that was cool. It gave me a chuckle, a laugh. It was pretty funny. And then he sent a patch for Dick. It really was for Dick, I think, you know. That was for him. He's holding it over there right now. He's just kind of like, he didn't know how it got here. And then a little tiny little lock. There's another lock in there also I want to show you that he sent. These are things that add to the weight of a package, you know, because this one lock almost weighs like a pound. Best locks, man. They're one of the best locks to try to pick, because this type of system with locks is really easy for anybody that's a locksmith or something like that to work with, because you can set up different keys. One key is a control key, and it allows you to pull the whole core out. So if you had a tenant, or you had somebody, you know, working at your factory or whatever you didn't like, that had access to your keys, and he left, and you didn't trust him to come back and use the key again, all the locksmith has to do is pull this one in. He could easily, if he's already got it set up, stick another core in, just give him the new key, and that other key won't work. The key that the operator gets, there's operator key, control key. So the reason why I'm telling you this is there's two different shear lines in this when you're picking, all right? So the shear line is where the pins line up in this rotating cylinder. That's all a lock is. It's just a cylinder with pins that drop down to block the path, and a key is just cut to line those pins up at just the right moment for the shear line. They line up usually then and only then, if it's a good lock. That's the only time that the cylinder will be able to turn. Well, with one of these type of locks, you have two shear lines. So there are two ways while you're tensioning it. You could be picking control or operator. If you get control is usually what everybody wants, because as far as the locks, because operator just opens the lock. That's all. You can't do anything with the cylinder inside. But if you get the control keys setting, then you can take the whole thing out and open the lock. You basically have complete control of the lock, which makes these things very challenging to pick. They're usually also 7 pins, I think. So that's going to be a challenge to get me back into lock picking. And then I sent another one here. Schlage. These are usually not as hard, but you never know. Anyways, that came along, and then I read the note, and he said this is a Temu. This is a Temu AD-15. So he said it had a problem with centering. I never worry about centering with knives, even if it's not hitting the liner. I'm not worried about that. What's interesting about this is I probably would have never bought the regular AD-15, but I've always been interested in the locking mechanism. See, I was interested in locks before, because on locks you got to figure out what type of mechanism, how are they doing basically the same thing, preventing something from opening. This is a knife lock mechanism, and then there's lock mechanisms. In knife world, all you're really worried about is, does it work? Usually, you're not trying to override, the lock or anything like that. But if you were a lock picker, this would be kind of hard to override, because you would have to try to get through that to allow this to come back, and the only way to do that would be you'd have to lever this up. So lock picking, we figure out how to get past things like that without destroying the knife. But this is an interesting type of knife design. That's what I usually like about, if you're ever going to get any of these Temu knives and stuff, the reason for purchasing to me is, if you've been curious about a knife design, something like this, but you don't want to spend like $200 for the knife. If you know what you're getting into, you don't worry about what the steel is or what it's made out of. This is just basically like a 3D prototype of what you want to, if you find it interesting, you can always go buy the original if you want. But since this is a Temu, they'll send you something that looks like the exact box, because probably if Cold Steel is making their knives in China, they have access to the exact box. So just be aware if you're ever out there of buying. The only time I ever bought a counterfeit knife, it's a counterfeit knife. There's a difference between clones and counterfeits. Clones are usually, I consider, ones that look a lot like it, but they're not trying to copy it exactly, as far as like slapping the name on there. Cold Steel. This is a counterfeit. A clone would be something that looks exactly like this, but they'll call it something else. Now, they may alter something slightly just to avoid copyright things, because a clone is not trying to, completely fool you, just almost fool you. But that's interesting. And then, I don't want to make this too long, because my new phone is excellent on processing power, on the camera and everything else. And I thought, well, maybe if I put a longer file up, like the last one I did, 3.5 gigabytes, maybe it can upload that faster. Wrong. That's the one that took me. I began the operation at night. I went to sleep, thinking it was still uploading. When I woke up, it looked like it had just paused while I was asleep. It had gotten up to like 79% upload, and then stopped, and I said, oh, all right, it's just stopped. It's not doing anything. I'm going to start loading it again, and then I'm going to delete the one that I just did. Well, it didn't completely delete it, and it started doing two. Oh, my God. Very long story short, it took forever. All right. So speaking of locking mechanisms, right? This is a slip joint, or a lock joint. Lockback, right? Where's the locking mechanism? Looking at this, and I said, does this thing pull? Finally, the light came on in my head. Just push down anyway. And sure enough, it did it. But there for a while, it took me longer than it should, because, I just look at this. I didn't even use the nail nick. I just grabbed this and went, this is a cool knife, It's kind of hollow ground, spear point and everything. Oh, it's not a liner lock. Again, locking mechanism. I saw the hinge in here. I said, all right, this is a lockback knife. What what do you usually do? Well, if this is the hinge point, it's got to be something levered down here. Sure enough, like I said, there's usually a cutout exposing that on the lockback, and that one fooled me. But this is cool. It's kind of a rubberized little back to it. All right, this fell out when it hit the ground, and it's another thing to add to my keychain that's already. It's a diamond sharpener. But I mean, like I was talking on one video, hair everywhere, about the need, if you're carrying a knife, not the need, but the advantage of basically having a sharpening system already with you. And man, this is really compact, and it can take the damage of being on your keychain if you can afford the extra little goodie. All right, now, this I'm going to include in the giveaway which I have going on. You'll have to go find the video wherever it is. But I'm giving away a radio, and I was going to include another knife. And this reminds me of the Praxis, but it's not, it's not like completely like a Praxis, but you have a Praxis-like knife. Chip down carry only, it looks like. Yeah, and this is the box that it came in. Berry Sale folding pocket knife, 3.3 inch D2 steel blade, G10 handle, camping, hunting, survival. All right, if you're getting a knife like this, and it's got like a name or something and everything, and a company and tells us steel, well, again, on something like this, this is probably not S35VN. Of all the things that it could be, I highly doubt on a Temu knife, for whatever price he paid on this. And again, I'm not looking a gift horse in their mouth or anything. I really appreciate this knife. I'm just doing this as a heads up for anybody else that happens to try to buy knives off of Temu or any of these other places where they, eBay, any of these other places where the price seems too good to be true. It's because it usually is. But that doesn't mean that it's not a totally useless practice, because you can get the idea. Now, don't try to get the idea about how it's going to function as far as like opening, because man, it digs into my hand. But again, remember, the original probably designed this a little bit better so that it opens a little bit smoother. Who knows? The main thing you want to do is, do you like the blade shape? Do you like the way it feels in your hand? This actually feels pretty good, man. I like this knife. And I've been curious about the AD-15 for a while, mainly because of that. I think they call this like the shark lock or something like that. Now, many other ones have something with the spring that you can pull back, so you don't have to lever this up to, disengage it. But look at that deep channel that you got there, and this thing just falls right in. It's a pretty secure system, and this thing's solid. It's got a lot of lockup to it. I like the design of the knife. I really do. And with this, being a gift-to-me knife and stuff, I can use it any way I want, and I'm going to use the crap out of it, just doing crazy stuff. Not too crazy, and I'm not going to try to destroy it, but I mean, like stabbing into things and furniture and stuff like that. You always take a risk. There might be, behind that innocent-looking piece of pleather, there may be metal reinforcement or a spring or something like that. But, again, like I said, I appreciate this knife design, and any criticism I'm talking about is not like, oh, it's just a clone. No, I really like this, because I probably wouldn't have ordered one, because I've ordered once from not AliExpress, but Alibaba or something like that. Ordered one counterfeit knife like this of the Benchmade Bug Out a few years back, 4 or 5 years back when I was first starting, and Patty's Potato Peelers came out and said, beware of the clones because they're really bad. And a lot of people gave him crap about it because they said, well, you shouldn't even have bought one of those, you shouldn't. And he said, hey, I can do whatever I want with my money, and I'm not telling people to buy it. I'm using it as a public service announcement to warn them and stuff, you know. So really, that's when I realized that, again, you know, you can do whatever you want with your money, and I agree with him on that. You can do whatever you want. Now, you may have the moral position where you would never buy a counterfeit knife, which is kind of understandable, but, again, these kind of knives are good to give to people that know nothing about knives, like my buddy. He never had a knife, and I catch him every once in a while trying to do things you wouldn't want to do with the knife, so, some of your friends, you wouldn't want to give them a case knife, all right? Because it would be useless. It would be a waste of money, because if they have no experience with knives and they've never really been taught about how to use them, you can't really hold it against them and everything. But yeah, I'm going to include this knife here with that giveaway, so I just wanted to let you know. It's a nice little flipper. Jimping up here. Like I said, it has that Praxis blade shape look to it. Not really a mini Praxis. Get my ruler over here somewhere. My ruler, where's my ruler? Yeah, you're looking at a little under a 3-inch blade as far as like cutting edge, but if somebody were to measure it as far as blade length, it's probably like 3.5. I think it said 3.3 on the thing there. So yeah, there you go. I'm running my mouth too much. But yeah, everything is going great. I'm gonna dig into this a little bit later, but oh man, it's a bunch of old coins and stuff. So I've only looked at the very surface of it, and I went, oh wow, this is great, because there's a 1921 Lincoln head, and I think there was a Mercury dime or something. Oh look, Buffalo nickel. So we'll go through that at another time. But thank you again, JP. You know, like I said, you've really helped me out on this channel a lot, inspired me to even have this channel. And again, when I left Locksport channel and everything, I left a lot of really good people behind. I just didn't stay in contact with him, but JP has stayed in contact with me because he has a knife channel, you know. But there's a few other. Chris Capoon, he's in here. You know, he watches a lot of videos. He was from the Locksport community and everything, and I think he understands too. You know, that I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to say goodbye to all of those people there. It's just that I had just gotten burnt out, and somebody in that community earned one of these, and they almost burned me, you know, from it. But hey, learn from your experiences. I'm not bitter about it. I'm happy that that I got this channel, and I've met a lot of new people and friends and everything. So again, I've got a giveaway going on that's going to be a drawing tomorrow. And if you're in the lower 48 states of the United States, you're eligible for it, and of a legal age and all that crap. So I'll stop running my mouth. But anyways, that's just some of the stuff that he sent to me, and we'll get through more of it later, but I just wanted to show you those few items right now. He sent this also from D's Knives. Look at that hair everywhere. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Oh, wait a minute. And a companion for Boris. We always call these horny toads. They're actually more of a lizard than a toad, but these are not that sharp. I picked them up before and everything. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.